Are ticks being weaponized? What if that tick bite that made you sick wasn't just an accident? What if it was part of something bigger? For years, a controversial theory has circulated online, one that claims the government may have experimented with ticks, infecting them with diseases like Lyme disease and even alpha-gal syndrome, and then releasing them into the wild. Sounds insane, right? But here's where things get interesting. Some of this story is actually rooted in real history. Tonight, we're diving into one of the strangest and most unsettling conspiracy theories out there. What is Lyme disease and alpha-gal? Before we get into the conspiracy, let's understand the diseases at the center of it. Lyme disease is a bacterial infection. It's transmitted through the bite of infected black-legged ticks, commonly known as deer ticks. Symptoms can start mild, fever, fatigue, headaches, but if untreated, it can lead to severe joint pain, neurological issues, and long-term complications. Then there's alpha-gal syndrome. This one's even stranger. After being bitten by certain ticks, especially the Lone Star tick, some people develop an allergy to red meat. Yeah, seriously, beef, pork, lamb, foods you may have eaten for your entire life can suddenly trigger severe allergic reactions, even hours after eating them. So now the question becomes, how did ticks carry the disease in the first place? Where the conspiracy begins. The conspiracy theory claims the government agencies, particularly during the Cold War, experimented with ticks as biological weapons. The idea? Infected ticks with diseases, and used them to spread illness among populations. Now that sounds like pure fiction, except for one thing. The United States did in fact run biological weapon programs during the mid-20th century. Facilities like Plum Island Animal Disease Center, located just off the coast of New York, have often been mentioned in connection with this theory. Some people believe that experiments conducted there may have involved ticks and livestock diseases. And then here's where things get even more interesting. In 2019, the U.S. House of Representatives actually passed an amendment directing the Department of Defense to investigate whether ticks or insects were ever used as biological weapons. That doesn't prove anything happened, but it does show the idea wasn't dismissed outright. The claims. Supporters of this theory often point to a few key arguments. First, they claim that Lyme disease seemed to emerge suddenly in the 1970s, particularly in Lyme, Connecticut. Second, they argue that geographic spread of infected ticks doesn't fully make sense naturally. And third, they believe government secrecy around past biological programs suggests there's more that we don't know. Some people even claim that alpha-gal syndrome is too unusual to be a natural reaction to something as small as a tick, suggesting it could be the result of engineered pathogens. It's a compelling narrative, but is there any actual evidence? What science says. Scientific research shows that Lyme disease bacteria has existed long before the 1970s. In fact, studies have shown evidence of Borrelia bacteria in preserved specimens going back decades or even centuries. So why did it seem so new in the 70s? Scientists say it's because it wasn't widely recognized or properly diagnosed until then. As for ticks, their population have exploded due to the environmental changes like reforestation, climate shifts, and the increase in deer populations. More ticks equals more disease transmission. And alpha-gal syndrome? Researchers believe it's linked to the compounds in tick saliva that triggers an immune response in certain people. Is it strains? Yes. Is it artificial? Who knows? The Plum Island theory. Let's go back to Plum Island. The facility has been the center of speculation for years. Some believe infected ticks may have escaped or even been released from there, spreading disease to the mainland. There's no confirming evidence of this happening, but the secrecy surrounding the facility fuels suspicion. And in the world of conspiracy theories, secrecy often becomes the foundation for belief. Possibility versus proof. Here's the key distinction. Could government have researched biological weapons using insects? Yes. Is there confirmed evidence that they released ticks carrying Lyme disease or even alpha-gal syndrome into the public? Not necessarily. Something else to look into is that people have been speculating that Bill Gates is funding a vaccine for these said tick bites that's supposed to come out next year. And people are saying that this current year is supposed to be one of the worst tick seasons ever. Is that a coincidence? That's for you to decide. Why this theory persists. So why do people believe this theory? Well, it may be because it taps into real fears, and like many other conspiracies, it taps into distrust of the government secrecy, fear of disease, and the idea that something small, like a tick, could completely change your life. It's also fueled by the fact that these diseases are poorly understood and can be devastating. When science doesn't have all the answers, people start looking for their own. So, are ticks being used as biological weapons, or is it just a theory built on fragments of truth and a lot of speculation? This answer depends on how you interpret the evidence, but one thing's certain: the world of microscopic threats is far stranger and more complex than most of us realize, and sometimes the truth is just as unsettling as the conspiracy. If you found this video interesting, hit subscribe and like this video for more deep dives into strange theories. Also make sure to check out my last video on the theory that we never went to the moon.